So in today's video, I want to reveal to you the real reason you don't get what you want. The real reason your desires remain unfulfilled. And the particular quote I'm going to share with you is from an ancient Sanskrit text. And this text was called Tripura Rahasya. And it's a really powerful text all in all. But there's one particular quote I want to highlight today, and this particular quote explains in very clear and concise terms why it is many of us fail to bring into our realities the things we actually want to bring into our realities. And I'll just read it to you now. One should forget the old associations in order to make one's new conception effective. And this endures only so long as it is not obstructed by the old one. A conception is forceful unless obstructed by an antecedent one and thus destroyed. It is effective only when forceful. In that way, even great things may be achieved. Your conceptions do not materialize for the aforesaid reason. Therefore, you must practice focusing a thought if you desire your own creations to endure. So I thought this was a great one because it really does nail down the exact reason why we sometimes fail at manifesting the things we want to manifest, or we fail at bringing into our lives the things we want to bring into our lives. This is why we fail. This is often the reason why we fail. And I'll just break this quote down now to you, and I'll just go through it piece by piece. So it starts by saying one should forget the old associations in order to make one's new conception effective, and this endures only so long as it is not obstructed by the old one. So when we are building a new idea in our mind, when we are building a new thought in our mind, when we are constructing a new concept in our mind, to make that effective, we need to have this decisive action that we want to now follow this new conception instead of associating ourselves with the old concept. So to build a new concept and to make it effective, we must focus on that conception above the old conception that we are used to living with. So I'll give an example in a second of what I mean here. And then it goes on to say a conception is forceful unless obstructed by an antecedent one and thus destroyed. So the conception that we have, the new conception we are trying to build, is forceful unless it is being obstructed by that old one. So if that old belief system comes back again and we decide to associate ourselves with the old belief system, then the new one will be destroyed and it won't become effective. And then it finishes by saying your conceptions do not materialize for this reason. Therefore, you must practice focusing a thought if you desire your own creations to endure. So it gives us a very clear guidance here that if we wish to move on from old belief systems, old patterns of behavior, old thought processes, and we wish to change what is held in the subconscious, then we must practice a focusing of thought on the desired outcomes we wish to encounter. So to make a new concept effective, we must practice on a daily basis, focusing on that new concept we have of ourselves. To make it effective, we need to keep our focus on it. And this isn't done necessarily by walking around all day keeping your focus on it. This isn't necessary. It's necessary to take some time aside each day perhaps and just visualize that outcome you want to bring into your reality. And what will happen over time is that new one will start to crowd out the old one. With enough focus, with enough practicing of this focus, then the new one will crowd out the old one. And to finish off today's video, I'm just going to give you a very basic example of this. So for example, if you carried a belief about yourself that I am poor, I struggle to pay my monthly bills, then of course this old concept of ourselves is very strong. And if we want to make a new concept effective, so say the new concept we build to counter that old one of poverty and the struggle to pay our monthly bills, instead we decide to build a new concept for ourselves, which is I am wealthy and I find it very easy to pay my monthly bills. I always have enough money to pay my monthly bills, etc., etc. Then we need to practice a daily focus on that new concept. And what will happen again is by keeping the focus on the new concept, the one which is positive, the one that we want to bring into our reality, it slowly starts to crowd out and overpower that old concept which was focused on poverty. Now we're focused on this abundant mentality towards our monthly bills coming through the post, instead of the old mentality which was focusing on the lack and the idea we wouldn't be able to pay the monthly bills that we see arriving in our post. So this is a basic example of what I'm talking about here. We're trying to get this new idea, this new concept, this new belief that we wish to take on and we wish to hold on to, and we need to keep focusing on it until it starts to crowd out the old one and actually overpowers that old one. If we do this effectively, then that new concept will become our reality. But it's very, very important that we don't confuse ourselves by going back to the old ways, which is obviously very easy for many of us to do. If we've lived a certain way for 15 to 20 years, or even less than that, obviously, then it's very, very easy for us to go back to old patterns. But we must remember that the old pattern is the old pattern, and we wish to build a new pattern. And we do this by focusing on that new pattern repeatedly until it becomes a habit, until it becomes a deeply ingrained subconscious belief system that we hold deeply within ourselves, a deep conviction. Anyway, I hope that was helpful to you today, and I hope that reveals to you the reason that you might be struggling to bring into your life the things you want to bring into your life.